All right, week 8 roundup, guys. Here we are. There's really only one major story to talk about, and that's Brad's big fucking win. The big win, the big record breaking win. And if that's really the main topic, let's just kind of get through the other ones as quick as possible so we can talk about big old Brad. All right, so we'll start with J-Ball. J-Ball got his second win of the season this weekend. Beat Bird 115 to 98. Jay had strong days from Eddie Lacy and Phillip Rivers and Keenan Allen, who really carried J-Ball to this win. The three combined for 68 points, while the rest of his team only amassed a total of 47 points. Buys did hurt him, meant he was in a real do-or-die situation. Pulled it out, though, and removed himself from the basement of the league, so it was a good weekend for J-Ball. Burdick, on the other hand, sorry, buddy Chase, but your bad luck really kind of fucked you this week. He had Larry Fitzgerald on the bench, who scored 29 points, which you don't want to leave on the bench on any weekend. But when you factor in the fact that the other three receivers that he actually played, Andre Johnson, Julian Edelman, and Mike Wallace, they all combined for 21 points. That's less than just one player on his bench, and it would have got him the win. But that's really all you need to know about Chase's weekend. That kind of sucks. I somehow have managed to go undefeated for 8 straight games, having beaten Jordan 131 to 105. Jordan started out with what looked like an absolutely insurmountable lead. I was sweating. I thought it was over on Thursday because Emmanuel Benedict Arnold Sanders scored 39 points on Thursday night. 39, and he's like wide receiver number 3 in that setup. Jordan got cute, though, on Sunday. Didn't really want to just sit with the fantasy win. Wanted to make the Steelers' loss feel that much worse for me, and swapped out the Redskins defense for the Colts defense, thinking that the Steelers would put up a dud. But what actually happened was Ben Roethlisberger played the best game in his life and scored 6 touchdowns, hung 51 points on the Colts defense, and really just kind of fucked Jordan in the end. I leaned really heavily on my stable of running backs. Matt Forte, Arian Foster, they combined for 69 of my 131 points. Everybody else was pretty average. Matt Ryan disappointed yet again after a very strong first half in London, but then completely fell apart, so I cut him. He's done. He's gone. No more Matt Ryan. Fun fact, the bro actually finished the first half with more points than he did at the end of the game. So that's kind of the end of that. There was some Packer-on-Packer crime this week, which led to a 133 to 127 point victory for Zach over Sharp. You got to think that Tony Romo's Monday night injury really robbed Sharp of the victory, or maybe another tie. He fell 7 points short of that of winning this week, and Romo finished the game with only 14 because he couldn't complete after a back injury, and I think it was in the first half. So you got to think he would have scored at least another 5 or so and made it interesting. That said, if Zach hadn't have been so loyal to his Packers, he would have probably started Drew Brees and not played Russell Wilson, and he would have walked all over this matchup. So I guess it's kind of a wash either way. But 0 points from the flex position is never a good thing, Z-Man. You're going to need to find some consistency, but you're making a solid run towards the playoffs, and that's good for you, buddy. Sheck managed to get only his second ever fantasy football win against Tom, winning 152 to 122. After beating Tom in his first ever matchup, Sheck had since gone winless against the First Son. This week, Sheck broke the duck after 6 players scored 15 points or more. That said, Vincent Jackson continues to be a bit of a fun sponge for this team, but that wasn't enough to ground the Flying Squirrels as they cruised to victory behind a 35-point performance from Antonio Brown. Tom put in the kind of game that would win a lot of matchups, but 1 point from his tight end and 0 points from the Eagles' defense really killed the show. A frustrating loss for Big T for sure, but it really shouldn't be anything that alarms you. Tight end is probably a major trouble spot, but with Josh Gordon coming back, you can either get some big points starting week 11 from him, or maybe there's a trade in the works right before the deadline on week 12. And finally, stay still. Finally, Brad stormed Barron in a 224 to 107 point blowout. Brad absolutely shattered records for most points in a game and the largest margin of victory. Prior to this, Tom had scored a record 179 points in a game, but Brad upped the ante on his big brother by 45 points and became the first player to break the 200-point barrier, earning him the first ever Platinum Beer of the Week in the PPR era. So congratulations, Brad. I'm proud of you. That means, obviously, you were the highest scorer of the week, but frankly, I'm getting kind of tired of having beers in the middle of the week, so I figured if anybody understood that, you would. Love you, buddy. So that's cool. Back to the news, though. He also beat Barron by a record 117 points, which absolutely dwarfs Zach's previous margin of victory, which was 98. And if you remember, that 98-point margin of victory came on Sheck's bye week hell during the Redskins experiment. So getting a 117-point, duffing that lead by 19 points against a team that I guess was trying, was huge. So amazing. He only had one player score in the single digits, which he actually could have avoided if he had played James Jones. He would have had every player in double digits, and he had not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 players score 24 points or more. That's insane. It was pure domination, as Brad could have played just his 3 best players, his 3 highest scoring players, and still beaten Barron 120 to 107. Barron, well, keeps falling to all new lows. It's a rough rookie season for him. He now sits at the bottom of the league with only 1 win and with the fewest points scored of any team, having only scored 751 so far this season. To make matters worse, he has also been picked on the most, as no other team has more points scored against him than Barron. So far, we've all hung up 1,121 points on Barron over 8 games. Nobody's even close to that. He's got a bad offense, he's got bad defense, can't score points, and can't stop us from scoring points. And sometimes just shitty luck prevails. And so on a certain level, it's not been fun, has it, Barron? That said, as of right now, the way the playoff picture looks, I am the last undefeated team, and I hold a 3-game cushion over the rest of the pack. There are 4 teams, however, with 5-3 records, and they all round out the top 5 seeds. As of right now, Brad is the number 2 seed, Jordan the number 3, Tom the 4, and Zach the 5, all due to how the tie-breaking system works. Sharp's tie earlier in the season gives him a half-game lead over Sheck and sneaks into the 6th and final seed. Flying Squirrels, as we said, are only half game out of the playoffs, while Chase is a whole game back. J-Ball is now only a game and a half out of the final playoff spot, and Barron sits at the bottom, 2.5 games back, but there's still plenty of time to go, guys. The buys continue. Trade deadline is November 12th. So we're getting tight, man. Getting tight. We're about to hit the business end of the season, and I wish you all the best of luck. And Brad, please slow down, all right? You're driving fast. You're out of control. 224 points, it's just showing off, all right? Just chill. Chill, bro.